will I say, variants of this followers or of these agitations. But how did we get to this point? Let's start with that.
Well, so let me first say that the people who will not withdraw my PhD, I'm not yet a professor. But how did we get to where we are? Nigeria is a fraudulent arrangement. In 1959 general election, the number of the electorate voters in the South was 4,600, about 4.6 million voters. And they delivered 73 plus 83. That's 154 voters. Members of the House of Rep. Whereas the North had 1.92 million voters and delivered 134 members of the House of Representatives. You get what I'm saying? 2.6 million voters delivered 81 members of the House of Rep. 1.99 million delivered 73 members of the House of Representatives. 1.92 million, the lowest, delivered 134. And we say we are running a democracy. So we have skewed our system from the beginning. But I will take you back to 1922 when Lord Lugard wrote a book called The Dual Mandate. He wrote clearly in that book that whenever the British will be leaving this country, they should hand over to an ethnic group in this country. I don't want to mention them, but I'm sure you probably have an idea what group I'm talking about. Should be handed over to them. And this was what happened. Then in April 1961, when there was a plebiscite or a referendum, Northern Cameroon was to decide whether to be part of Nigeria or to go away. They decided to be part of Nigeria and added more to the skewing of the majority in the House of Representatives for a particular region of the North. The South were not so savvy, they allowed Southern Cameroon to go. Now, if democracy is about numbers, I would have thought that those two parties in the South that delivered 4.6 million electorate should have formed the majority. But it appears that what we were doing is the region with the largest territory was going to form the government. That was what they used. So what I'm trying to say is that we have had a skewing of the system of this country from the beginning. And it's a fraudulent and unfair system. If you look at Section 2 of Nigeria Constitution, it talks about maintaining the integrity of the state. It doesn't talk about the interest of the people of Nigeria. And then Chapter 2 of Nigeria Constitution, economic, social, political, diplomatic, and so on.
So how does this, if I want to interrupt you, how does this all relate to
that's where I'm going, that we are having a system that is unfair and it does not deliver the best to everybody. Democracy is supposed to give the greatest good to the greatest number. It is the reverse that we have in this system.
Mr. Adekunle, what do you make of these agitations we've experienced over time, and how valid are their concerns?
I think I've said it, and I'm going to say it again. This problem in Igboland is a creation of the federal government of Nigeria. In fact, the sitting government didn't meet Igboland in chaos that it is today, because certain actions bring about certain reactions. The government of Nigeria failed woefully in the way it handled Nnamdi Kanu's, matter. At the time we were talking about it then, that the government force approach will not work, that it will bring about something else that will be counterproductive to the interest of Nigeria. And that's what has happened. You see, when people feel marginalized, when there is, whether it is true or not, when there is perceived injustice, unfairness, and all those things, there are ways, governments go about it, especially when there is sincerity. Have we seen any positive or genuine effort towards solving the problems? I have not seen any. Look at the Southeast today. It is destroyed. The economy of that region is destroyed. And we are not talking about small economy. I know Igboland very well. Industrials, enterprising, very great people. But because of those mere agitations, that are not even new. There was Masob and Wazurike, all those. They were not a threat to Nigeria. They were not a threat to Igboland. They were not a threat to the economy. They were not a threat to anybody. And because somebody is asking for, hey, we want to do Biafra, hey, we want to do whatever, it's not a crime as long as they are not, going about it in a very criminal way.
So what would you propose the government should, adopt a solution to address this issue? In
this case, even the media is culpable. I look at it. Look at the way the media has been reporting it. How many people have signed the so-called petition and the whole media is, agog with that? So, come on, what's wrong? It is our country. Without a Nigeria, there is nobody. Whether the media, there won't be anything. 2,000 people, even 2 million people signed the petition about what? These are people that we should ignore. This government made Nnamdi Kanu who he is today. Some inconsequential person, because suddenly it becomes important. So we are about to go the Nnamdi Kanu, journey, making somebody who is unimportant to become important. What's the point? We can disregard him, penetrate the media, tap, play down these kind of things, and let's move. Our country should matter to us, not divisive elements who want to, benefit from the problems, we have.
All right. Mr. Leko, if we're to look at this issue from your own end, what is the possibility of a confederation state? Do you think perhaps, that could be a solution for a diverse country like Nigeria, as we've seen in other countries around the world?
Esther, I don't even think I want to answer that question. My point is this. Those who say that the unity of Nigeria is non-negotiable are forcing their opinion on us, and that is wrong. We must sit down and discuss where we want to go.
Right.
Whether we want to remain a unitary state as they have created, or we want to be a federal state, or we want to be a confederal system. There must be room for discussion, for negotiation. There's no room for them. Some people keep saying that the unity of Nigeria, who says that Nigeria's unity cannot be discussed? It must be discussed. So we have had how many constitutional conventions we had in 2014, and a president says openly that he's going to gather dust on the shelf. What does that tell you? It means that there's going to be impunity, and people are going to be insisting on enforcing their preferences over, well, now they say we are 216 million, over 200 to 216 million people. So few people. Who are the people running this country? There are less than 1,000 people, 774 local government chairmen, 36 governors, and 1 president. Those are the people running this country. And they say that Nigeria cannot be negotiated. Who says? So we need to, let's get ourselves together. That document that they have put there, that President Buhari says will gather dust, they should pull it out. Now that he's leaving, I think it can even just be patriotic and let's discuss this thing, and let it be a parting gift for all of us.
Right. Dekule, final thoughts on this?
Final thoughts, we should just try not to create another Nnamdi Kanu in this Simon Ekpa or whatever the name is. We should not go the way we treated Kanu, making an inconsequential, human beings to become a global, that's just my, you don't need to.
All right, that's a fine place to leave it. Let's quickly move on to our next topic of discussion, where the whistleblowing policy in Nigeria, launched on the 21st of December 2016, was losing momentum, hence the need for adjustment. The federal government has approved a new whistleblower draft bill. The Minister of Finance and Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, said the Federal Executive Council approved the draft bill to strengthen the fight against corruption and protect whistleblowers that provide helpful information to the government. Leko, what do you make of this bill, knowing that it was being fashioned to fight against corruption and perhaps protect whistleblowers that provide information to the federal government? What do you make of this?
Well, I went to find out why, and then they said, well, I think the idea is that people want more protection. Mm-hmm. That's essentially what this is about. And then they now said that they want it to conform to what you call the Evidence Act. And then, I'm not a lawyer, so I went to find out what do they mean by that, Meaning that there has to be, I guess the law hasn't been, I read through it, I'm not a lawyer, doesn't have enough punch, and it does not completely protect the anonymity of whoever is the whistleblower. And I think that is essential. It's just, for me, it's just a housekeeping thing that they're trying to do. I don't think it's a big deal.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just a housekeeping, just to be sure that those who who are protected from people knowing who they are, so there will be no reprisals. Two, so that also the 2.5% to 5% compensation or whatever it is that they're going to get is guaranteed, and they get it.
Right.
And nobody's going to put them into any undue
harm's way.
Harm's way. I think that's essentially what.
Yeah, but Adekunle, okay.
Also that whatever it's an interesting law. It says even if you and I steal and I come and snitch on you, both of us are going in for it. Not that because I came to talk, then no, I'm not. We will both sing and
in the same ship.
Yes, and I think I get that, so, and then information that the government already has or can have, if you tell them you haven't helped. So don't play games with us. And I get all that, and I respect that. And don't forget, within a short period, when that law was pronounced in 2016, that was when that Ikoyi thing happened. $43 million or something like that. Yeah. Which means there are some people in this country who are, yes, for gains, but they're also prepared to cooperate with the government. Right. Now that the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning says people got some kind of fatigue, maybe they didn't feel protected, number one, and then two, they didn't see results. You go and report, and then they do back and forth, and then suddenly you don't hear anything. So people got tired. I think this is just a way of bringing Philip to a shot in the arm to the process of getting the whistleblower project on the go again. Yes.
Yeah. So, but Adekunle, it is one thing to recover these funds, but it's another issue to ensure that they are properly utilized for the purpose which is supposed to be anyway. But what strategic measures would you suggest that needs to be adopted if we are to ensure that, okay, these monies, they've been found, they've been recovered, but these monies are used for specific purposes, particularly for the people?
Well, when you have a system where you run on cash, it is easy to do every dubious thing you want to do. If you try cashless economy, everybody's footprints can be traced. You see the opposition, they are mounting against the CBN new directive. In every country, the elite set the tone, the direction. This is what we want our country to go. But in Nigeria, that's what I call the elite conspiracy. They and their interest alone, they don't care about anything. Anything that affects their interest, you won't see them make concession, sacrifice, or whatever about Nigeria. No, they only want what benefits them. And in this fight against corruption, who are the ones involved? The high and the mighty. You and I don't have any billions anywhere, or your millions. Where will you have it? So they are the ones that can stash, billions away in their own strong rooms. Some drew something like a pit where they keep money.
Or even in
some
farms.
And you will wonder that, are we lunatics in Nigeria? The other time, the day CBN announced, you saw what happened. People were bringing money with a wrapper of Oceanic Bank, Savannah Bank, all those banks that had died or killed many, many years ago. And you say, are we really normal? It means you must have collected this money 10, 15, 20 years ago, thereabout, and you kept them. Money that should be
in circulation.
Used. So now, coming back to this issue, I blame the government for everything. The government shows clearly that it is not interested in fighting corruption. It's just lip service.
So if that's the case, how can we tackle this problem?
How can we tackle this problem? There are several things. One of them is the one I just said. If you decide to go cashless, there's no way you will do what... Okay, look at the humongous, amount you hear, Ikoyi apartment, the ones they drop in airports, the one you see in bus stops, and all this order that you've had. Somebody owned those monies, but eventually they will say, oh, this, what manner of country is that? So now, when you now take it back to whistleblowing, when it started, people were happy. They thought the government was interested in fighting corruption. But some elements, one key element of it is you must create a trust environment.
Right.
For people to key into that initiative. There must be transparency and sincerity. Those things were lacking. You get my point? You saw many people that went to court that when they did so whistleblowing, they didn't give them money. The Ikoyi Gate, or how do we call that one? You call it Ikoyi Gate. The same government that introduced whistleblowing branded the whistleblower as mentally unstable. You forgot the story? And you know what it took to get part of that compensation. So when you are ready to fight corruption, you go the whole hog. It's not going to be a lip service thing. That's the picture I've seen. So if they want to fight corruption and you want to reintroduce this, you need to put in place too many things. One of them is you have to show that truly you are committed to this. Two, there must be very sound trust environment.
Right.
Without trust, then people must be protected. Look at what happened with many people complaining about EFCC and many other ones. So how are you going to safeguard my, identity? Somebody had to go to court over this matter, and by going to court, his identity was eventually revealed.
All right.
That's not whistleblowing. That has become something else.
Let me hold your thoughts. I have a call from London. Taiwo, please go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah,
Good evening.
Madam and gentlemen, well done for the good program. Talking about whistleblowing, do we not really need
Oh dear.
right thing. I believe the only solution, like you asked, what is solution is sincere.
Okay, it seems we're having a bit of... We can barely make out a sentence of what you're saying, Taiwo, but I think we understand part of what you said. If you can still go ahead, perhaps you can take a few of what you're trying to say.
My point is, we have a man who takes 2 billion rand into his property.
Okay.
It was all there. Everyone could see it, and the government did not arrest this man.
Okay, seems to still having a bit of a challenge there with Taiwo calling us from London. But let's quickly go on a break. Perhaps we will revisit this issue when we return. Stay with us on Journalist.
The non-oil revenues contributing 30 to 35% to the federal budget. Now it is 73% financing of the federal budget. And that's very significant. That is to emphasize that the non-oil sector is growing and contributing significant, and that is what is really holding the economy now, that it is the oil sector that is lagging behind. But I must pause to say that we understand that the disruptions to oil pipelines and the theft of crude oil has greatly improved. The NNPC, I understand, has reported that as of October, our crude oil production has moved up to 1.3 million barrels per day, from a low of 800,000 that we have witnessed earlier this year. So things are turning around also in that space.
This message is brought to you from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The Jam'iyyat al-Ansar ad-Din at-Tijaniya, under the leadership of His Spiritual Eminence Sheikh Muhammad Mahi Ibrahim Inyas, Grand Khalifa Tijaniya Worldwide, announces the celebration of the 5th Nigeria World Mawlid Anniversary in honor of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, with the theme, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, an epitome of religion and governance. Special guest of honor, His Excellency Alhaji Asuwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, APC. Chairman of the occasion, His Royal Highness Alhaji Yahya Abubakar, the Ethiopia and Chairman, Niger State Council of Chiefs. Chief host, His Excellency Abubakar Sani Bello, Executive Governor of Niger State. Date, 23rd Jamada Thani 1444 after the Hijrah, equivalent to December 17, 2022. Venue, Apollo Club Complex, Niger State. Announcer, Sheikh Muhammad Nafi Umina for the local organizing committee.
The Central Bank of Nigeria has announced the introduction of a new series of 200 Naira, 500 Naira and 1000 Naira banknotes to be launched on December 15, 2022. These new banknotes will circulate side by side with the current 200 Naira, 500 Naira and 1000 Naira banknotes, which will cease to be legal tender on January 31, 2023. Banks are now open from Monday to Saturday to accept customers' deposits. So, hurry to your banks to deposit only 200 Naira, 500 Naira and 1000 Naira banknotes in your possession. To make it seamless, the CBN has suspended bank charges on all deposits made during this period, and there is no limit on how much an individual can deposit. Remember, the current 200 Naira, 500 Naira and 1000 Naira banknotes remain legal tender until January 31, 2023. Do not reject it, but ensure the banknotes get to your bank before the deadline of January 31, 2023. This message is from the Central Bank of Nigeria.
How important is comfort to you? Is it as important as the day you discovered that self-love is the start of good life? Here is a comfort that your self-love, Iderade. Transit into your serenity. The opportunity awaits you on this peace of mind as you pay in installments of 24 months with initial deposit of 500,000 Naira. Serenity at its finest. Everyone has a Chivita this season. What's your Chivita?
Mr. President, again, just signed the establishment of the National Agricultural Development Fund. This is a equivalent of TED Fund for tertiary education. We have steady income now. 5% of the wheat and rice levy and 0.5% of the natural resources fund. So at least now, apart from the budgetary allocation every year, this is another source of financing. Of course, we do still work with international organizations that provide grants and sometimes counterpart funding and all of that.
This message is brought to you from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Welcome back. It's still on to Journalist Hangout, and we're still discussing the whistleblower policy in Nigeria. That we're seeing the draft Federal Executive Council approving the draft bill to strengthen the fight against corruption. So, Lekon, before we quickly move on to our next issue of discussion, what are your thoughts on, or what do you think are the measures the government needs to do to ensure it eradicates corruption, where this whistleblower policy is, let's say the bill is made to do, and in the first place, what other measures do you think the government needs to do to effectively eradicate corruption from our system?
No, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. First, ensure that there is a law backing this policy.
Right.
And that is the route that they are taking now. Laudable. 1. 2 is also that even though you may have the letters of the law, those who are running the law, lawyers, they understand the inside of law. They know the loopholes and all that. They can play all the games. Sometimes it comes to my head that those who drafted that thing, that it became so weak, probably deliberately did that so that it won't have the punch that it's supposed to have. I was in a conversation with a lawyer who died early this year, and she told me that lawyers in the civil service will go to court deliberately unprepared to lose a case because it will favor somebody. How do you explain that? So we have to be sure that, just as he has said, there has to be trust. We have to be sure that there's going to be an enforcement of the law.
Right.
And then who is going to, is it EFCC that is going to prosecute, or is it the regular police that is going to prosecute somebody who does this? We need to have a very clear idea, and then there has to be consequences. Yes, a whistleblower blows the whistle and they catch the person. It's not enough to just collect the money. What happened? After they collect how many $1 million? What happened to whoever?
The money.
They came with an explanation, and that was the end of it. And
don't forget this. When government, to me, is something that is too late in the life of this administration. Since 2016,
the twilight of its administration.
You have been able to put this into a law. The last time a senator tried this in 2019, I think that senator is late now.
Yeah.
This whistleblowing thing didn't pass through
second reading.
It was only, at first reading.
So
now,
so the possibility of this scaling through is very new.
When everybody is busy with election, re-election, and things around politics, now you are bringing this. I believe it's lost. I don't think anything meaningful can be achieved in this. I'm too sure about that. I know we'll discuss it again, because when you look at the remaining time in the life of this administration, just to get something busy, because look at it very well. What did we achieve with all these ones we've done? The bureaucracy around it, how are you going to solve it? You said you are doing single treasury accounts, or virtually, there are many agencies of government that have extra accounts. And when people do whistleblowing, the government will come out to say we are aware. Then what is the essence of single treasury account?
Indeed.
Then you are talking about whistleblowing, then talking about fighting corruption. All those things don't add up, I believe.
All right, let's quickly move on to our next issue of discussion, where the police in Benue State have debunked alleged huge naira notes recovered at Wadata, a suburb of Makurdi, the capital of Benue State. Now, the development caused a stir in the Wadata area as people trooped to the location to witness the incident. But in a statement, the command spokesperson, Catherine Anene, described the social media news of the recovery of the Naira notes as misinformation. So with this in mind, why are you laughing? Because, you know, I was first of all trying to wrap my head around this, but you look on the police that has given its reasons or has given some revelations that these are old Naira notes that are good, that needs to go to waste.
Yeah,
but
and it's sold to them, and then they sell it, and then they make
mosquito repellent.
Mosquito repellent. They make what do you call that thing? Egg. Those crates, you know, and all that. We understand all that. You know, it just means that let's push this whistleblowing thing a little further,
right, and
stretch it to this. People are alert. People are aware of what is going on. Even though the gentleman, there is the report by this Catherine Anene, who is this police officer, says, well, okay, this is condemned Naira notes that they sell from Central Bank
CBN
and all that. I've not been there. Yeah, that's where I'm going. I don't know the integrity of that information. Okay. Even though your headliner has called it fake news, I'm not too sure. I'm skeptical. As a true journalist, I'm skeptical. Even though Anene has spoken, and some other individual who refuses to be identified has also pretty much said the same thing. You know, I have worked in government. I know what civil servants can do. I'm taking this with a pinch of salt. I'm suspicious. I have no proof of anything.
Right.
But I've lived in Nigeria long enough to just know that there's something. I can't prove anything.
Right
I admit I can't prove anything, but I'm skeptical.
Okay. Dekule, are you sharing the same sentiments, or you have a contrary perspective altogether?
I'm not particularly impressed by the way the police, reacted. I would have loved it to say, okay, we are investigating, instead of debunking. Because would you say that video was a fake video and it didn't take place? I don't know, but I don't know what is fake in that. So I would have preferred the police to be more professional to say, now we have the report.
This thing wasn't shredded.
I would have loved the police to acknowledge, we have the report and our team is working on it and we will unravel the situation.
Right.
Instead of debunking, denouncing fake. What is fake in that? Are you saying this?
But from what they said the owner of the Naira notes bought it from CBN.
Yes, I understand.
And the police officer said
we've had that before.
The owner tendered a license.
Yes, I understand.
Issued to him by the CBN.
Fine.
For waste management. So
I would have thought that monies like this would have been shredded.
Right.
But as they are handling it, it means it's still whole.
I'm sorry.
That money is dirty. Doesn't mean something is wrong with it.
I'm sorry. That is totally wrong. And we've had opportunity of meeting CBN officials. Even when they want to mutilate, bad Naira notes or expired or whatever, there is a process within CBN because some of these things contain certain chemicals that should not, So it's not something that CBN will give to people. I'm too sure about that. That you go and handle this. No, there is a serious process. Yes, and there are some of these things that they reconvert to certain
useful materials
that they are now. Yes, so it's not something they can give to any businessman or dealer or anything. I think I said it. The police was absolutely unprofessional in the way they pushed out that information. It's wrong.
So if you have an insight on the right procedures, could you share with us what exactly is the right procedure in handling old Naira news?
The right
Why can't the central
we
bank
have the
make
report,
an
we have the
announcement?
video, we are working on it, our men will unravel.
No, I mean on the
situation.
part of the CBN.
Central Bank should make a statement.
Okay.
There is somebody who is director of information at Central Bank. We needed to hear from him. Let him talk.
But from engagements with them, they've explained many times the processes that they, Naira mutilation, whatever, go through. That is not something they, and some of these things, they are converted to certain things and this and that. So I don't think it's something they can give to anybody. It's a serious thing. I know the CBN will be forced to issue a statement on this because it's a big accusation.
Indeed. Leko, final thoughts before we move on to our next issue of discussion.
Let me just retreat. Director of Information, Central Bank needs to speak. This is not a police matter. The Central Bank of Nigeria should talk to us. Let the corporate affairs manager speak to us. We want to know so that we can hold somebody responsible for this. They call it condemned Naira notes.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the process that you go through to
condemn,
to determine that it is now condemned?
Yeah.
And then when you condemn, how do you handle it? Do you handle it to one so-called licensed buyer? And the thing is not shredded. Esther, I can't prove anything, but I'm not too clear that this is something is too easy. The explanation is too easy to make. And then why is somebody in some anti-graft agency speaking and saying, don't quote me?
Well, according to him, it's not licensed, or let's say he's not the right person to give such information.
I hear you. You and I, we are journalists. We know when they say the highest authority, we know who the highest authority is. When they say a spokesman, when they say somebody speak, listen, I was in government. There are grades of information. There's classified information, there's top secret, and so on and so on. When somebody says something, you know who is likely, at what level, the person who is saying it, what level he likely occupies. So we have an idea. We can't prove, and we are not going to argue it, but I just have my suspicion.
All right, and let's leave it at that. Let's quickly go on another break. We'll return in just a moment. Stay with us.
Our country one better. Nigeria one better. Our country one better. Nigeria one better. Who go do one for us? Papa talk and move, Mama talk and move. For a better Nigeria, good life won't come. Now you we want to, now you we need oh.
Yeah, so people of Nigeria, they jolly for the better when one shell for we country. So as they ready to vote Asiwaju Bola Tinubu as the next president of Nigeria, our people don't look the matter well. Say now only Bola Tinubu don't do what everybody feel see. Now him get the experience where he go fit use take make our country better, make life sweet for we and our picking them. Bola Tinubu don't gather better plan to chase down war for we youth, better school, the security of lives and property, unity and peace for all we country people of Nigeria. But these and many other better things when in don't vocalize, it good make we all vote Asiwaju Bola Tinubu for president of Nigeria. Vote Kashif Shettima as vice president. Vote APC, the party where show broom.
Now you we need oh. Only God can do this. Is a wonder working God. Only God can do this.
Praise the Lord. Chosen is 20 years this year, and by the special grace of God, the counsel of the Lord stands forever. It is written, I will build my church, and the gates of faith shall not prevail against it. And what God has determined shall be done. I want to let you know that this is the 20 years of existence of the Lord chosen. So come, let us give thanksgiving to the Lord. Let us appreciate him. Let us praise him for what he has done. For no one can do this. Only God can do what we have seen. To him be the glory. I invite you to come on Sunday, 18th of December. Come with all your friends. There is going to be plenty of blessings, spiritually and otherwise. May God bless you.
The Central Bank of Nigeria has announced the introduction of a new series of 200 naira, 500 naira, and 1,000 naira banknotes to be launched on December 15, 2022. These new banknotes will circulate side by side with the current 200 naira, 500 naira, and 1,000 naira banknote, which will cease to be legal tender on January 31, 2023. Banks are now open from Monday to Saturday to accept customers' deposits. So, hurry to your banks to deposit only 200 naira, 500 naira, and 1,000 naira banknotes in your possession. To make it seamless, the CBN has suspended bank charges on all deposits made during this period, and there is no limit on how much an individual can deposit. Remember, the current 200 naira, 500 naira, and 1,000 naira banknotes remain legal tender until January 31, 2023. Do not reject it, but ensure the banknotes get to your bank before the deadline of January 31, 2023. This message is from the Central Bank of Nigeria.
This place will have a recreational park that is designed to make life comfortable. Wellness is key, and we're putting this place that will help people to, keep up on their health, where they could burn their fat. And the timeline for this project is estimated to start and end within 18 months. But however, it starts in phases. The first phase is to get the space secured and gated, which is done.
Mowe is a growing city, and if you are very, very smart, then you realize that the Lagos-Ibadan expressway that is being developed is going to throw Mowe open furthermore.
People that have gone ahead of us have great investment here. And even way in the 90s, even before we thought about coming here. So I think it's a good idea, Iderade coming here.
Welcome back. You're still on to Journalist Hangout. Now, in reaction to the new cash withdrawal policy by the Central Bank of Nigeria, which restricts a maximum cash withdrawal by individuals to 100,000 naira per week and 500,000 naira for corporate organizations, the Nigerian Senate asked the Apex Bank to adjust the withdrawal limits in response to the public outcry. But the Senate directed its Committee on Banking to embark on aggressive oversight of the CBN on its commitment to flexible adjustment of the withdrawal limit. Meanwhile, the new 200 naira, 500 and 1,000 naira notes have gone into circulation. Dekunle, let me begin with you on this. How much of this move do you think by the Senate will yield any positive outcome whatsoever?
It all depends on what I would say, what Mr. President, wants. Because from the body language of Mr. President, he wants this new policy, and you will see that he really, really wants it. But the other time I spoke about it, I said it's a beautiful thing for Nigeria, but the elite will not want it. They want to buy votes. The politicians will never, ever like this. I can tell you. Every politician goes around with
cash,
humongous, volume of cash. When you see all these vehicles loaded, following them.
Escort.
And that's what makes them, So now, with this new policy, it will be very difficult. From what CBN said, there will be limited number of 1,000 naira in circulation. You won't even see one at any ATM in Nigeria. You won't see 500 naira at any ATM in Nigeria. Because there will be limited. So you will see more of 100 naira, 200 naira now, those lower denominations. So what that means is that it will dissuade you from carrying huge volume. Even it is 1,000, you can just take 1 million naira in a bag. But now, with a small note, you know what it will mean. Those who are against this, we need to ask ourselves, what do we really want for our country? Because if we want it to work, we have to make a lot of sacrifice. Everywhere, go and look at it. Look at Kenya, look at many African countries. See the volume, the level they have reached about cashless economy. We are still here, and when things don't work, we lambast the government. What of those who are not in government? All of us. So the big men, the elite, the politicians, they need to search their souls. Do we really want Nigeria to work? If we do, we don't need to reinvent anyway. The models are there. We just copy some of these things that are working in other places. Nigeria is not working. The economy is not working. Our politics is not working. There's nothing that is working in Nigeria except corruption. You get my point? So if we get this policy right, I can bet it, corruption will be thoroughly
dealt
difficult.
with. Right.
Then those who do kidnappings, those terrorism, merchants, they run on huge cash. You get me? So what they call illegal cash flow will be easy to trace. Everybody will have their, it's our footprints. And that means you can trace everything. But this, our big men and women will not want. And I've said it again, I said it many times, I know they will do everything to frustrate it. But if the president, as with what I'm saying, you can see that the president is giving the CBN governor full backing. Full backing. If that continues, and which I believe it will continue, no matter whatever anybody will say, even if they will relax it, maybe after the election. I'm just doing it as a conjecture.
Right.
But from what I'm seeing, I don't see the CBN backing that.
Leko, he's talking about making a lot of sacrifice if we're to make Nigeria work. Do you share the same sentiment?
Yeah, well, in any human situation, there's always give and take. But on this, I think the Central Bank governor is not really helping with the way he's handling the communication. He keeps talking about, 85% of Naira is in circulation. So what? Big deal. If it is about security, as Adekunle is saying, that we need to see electronic trails of how money moves. So if you are a money launderer, if you are a drug seller, if you are a bandit or kidnapper and all that, and money is transferred to you, it is easy to trace you, to know from the beginning. There's going to be an electronic trail of all your transactions. But I'm sure you have heard that those SARS people will take you to your ATM machine and make you withdraw money. Meanwhile, there is a CCTV capture there. Why don't they interrogate that and then look for those policemen who followed the guy there? Or somebody gets your ATM card from you and compels you to give them your PIN. This thing. Or sometimes policemen who won't bribe ask me to transfer money to them. Are we really taking advantage of this digital technology?
Right.
Then the infrastructure. In certain parts of the country, is there a guarantee that there is network and it's going to work for all of us? The same central bank that came up with POS, meaning that if you need money, you don't really have to go and run to the bank. It's now coming with a policy that counsels it. Though,
you have less than 30 seconds.
Yeah. Okay, let me just... so essentially, my point is that this is a good policy, but we need to make haste slowly.
Fine place to leave it, gentlemen. And well, that's where we wrap today's edition of Journalist Hangout. I'd like to thank my guests, Lekon Shote and Adekunle Yusuf. It's a pleasure, as always, to have your thoughts on Journalist Hangout. Well, that's about it. Thank you so much for watching. Join us again tomorrow for another episode of the program, and you can watch a repeat broadcast tonight at 11. Join us again on Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. We are also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Esther Makwariola. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.
The following is a paid presentation by ShopX TV. Introducing the new Pressure King Pro from ShopX TV. The amazing 14-in-1 digital pressure cooker that saves you time and money. Want to cook proper meals but can hardly find the time? We all have busy schedules, but hurried lifestyles means meals on the run, maybe even whole weeks with too much processed or fast foods. The amazing ShopX 14-in-1 digital pressure cooker cooks up to 90% faster than conventional appliances. And because it cooks so much faster, you're not just saving time, but saving money too. Cooking a whole